Welcome to the Poisoner's Cabinet. I'm Sinead.
And I'm Nick.
And this is your weekly podcast exploring the lives of the great poisoners, macabre murders, and captivating crimes from across the centuries, and creating curious cocktails inspired by the tales that we tell. And it's episode 217.
My God.
My God.
It's rattling through them fast.
Oh my goodness, yes. We continue to do this podcast.
We continue to do it.
And isn't it marvellous?
It's an amazing thing every week.
It is. People have written about it, you know.
They should.
They should. Well, they have.
But that's true.
We got some publicity.
We did.
In the last couple of weeks, yeah. People have been talking about the Poisoner's Cabinet.
Going, aren't they bloody marvellous?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you to all you new listeners who came here and went, what the fuck is this? And also, if you found us through our website, our lovely website, because people will have found it by Googling murder and poison. Ooh, this looks delightful. Hello. We hope you're all right. Yes. And come and join us. But you're well, otherwise it's all fine. It's a busy week for you, isn't it?
It's a busy week. I mean, yes, it's a busy week.
It's been very busy for the last few days for no reason.
Well, there are definitely reasons.
No, they're not.
But not very exciting ones.
They're not fun reasons.
No, exactly. They're not fun reasons.
They're boring admin reasons.
They're not just like, for no reason at all, it suddenly got busy and I'm not doing anything, but I'm doing a lot of it.
That's our mental state this week.
Pretty much.
Good. Any poisonings this week?
Probably.
I've
probably killed many people, I would imagine.
Oh, okay. You're just too busy to notice
Too busy, yeah, and there's a lot of people who just annoyed me, so...
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so I'm just cracking on.
I don't think I've been. I may have been poisoned by the new students who've moved in next door.
Oh, is there new people?
Yeah, I think they're new people. I think.
What a good neighbour you are.
I don't go round with a basket of muffins. These may have been poisoned by the sheer amount of certain kinds of smoke that has drifted over the fence and into my house. That is how much. And I'm like, this is great. And also, saw them in the street and said hello, and they were like, what? It's like, people say hello.
It's a crazy lady saying hello. It's a crazy lady.
Well, I was holding a cat and gathering rosemary for my witchy ways. But may have been poisoned by their enjoyment.
I mean, a devastating thing.
Poisoned by
Youths enjoying themselves.
Indeed.
Dreadful.
Well, speaking of youths enjoying themselves and us being furious about it, I think it's time for us to thank our delicious Patreon subscribers.
We certainly should. This week we must say thank you to Laura, dear old Laura.
To Madeline Schelt.
To Kayella.
To Jessica Gorley.
To Emma.
To Andrea Large.
And to Lewis Brown.
Hello,
Thank you very much.
Sexy Patreon subscribers. Thank you so much for joining us. We had a lot of fun on Patreon recently because we did Deadly Nightcaps 200.
200.
2 hours.
There was a lot going on there.
Yes, of Q&A. We answered a whole stack of questions from our new patrons, from our existing ones. It was a great session. And it did, I mean, it's 2 hours worth of content, but it did fly by. We kind of just went, oh God, in the middle of that. Thank you to everyone who sent questions in. Wow. It was a really riotously fun episode.
Interesting questions as well.
Yes. If you want to know what the hell people were asking us and what our answers were, please do consider joining us on patreon.com/The Poisoner's Cabinet. This is where you can support the show, and all support is greatly appreciated. There are different tiers. You can do $5 a month. You can do $15 a month for different levels of loveliness that you get from us. Do also check out our new website, thepoisonerscabinet.com, where you can find all of our episodes on the main show. You can find all of the cocktails we've ever created and a little bit more about me and Nick, if you're so inclined. Well, Nick, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's drink cocktails and talk about poison.
Absolutely.
Oh, we could drink poison and talk about cocktails.
Let's do that one as well.
Oh, let's do that. I think we need to drink heavily. I'm in the mood for that now.
So you're on your second drink already.
I know. I've just realised I don't have to get up in the morning. I mean, I do. I'm not dead.
That's what this is ever. It's like, I don't get up in the morning. Not until Friday. It's great.
I can, a little bit. No, I have meetings and things. But not for little tiny...
Meetings.
Meetings with the cat.
I was going to say, that's with the cat, isn't it?
Dear, how are you this morning? Okay, would you like some tuna? Yes, okay, that is noted. Everyone else has gathered. Frank, stop licking your anus.
It's like many of the meetings I've attended.
Should we go with the first one?
Yes.
Oh, good. Hooray, hooray, hooray. It is my story this week, but we can't possibly have a story without a cocktail in hand. As you know, dear listeners, every week we choose a secret ingredient that is inspired by the tale that we tell, and it will flavour our cocktail of the week. My story, so my pick. And this week's secret ingredient is a skull.
The skull.
A skull.
Not very dramatic.
I feel like it's crazy we've not done this before.
Yes, are you sure we've not?
I did check.
Well, there we go.
I checked for a skull. I checked for a head.
Yes, I was on a head.
But I checked for bones and a skeleton. None of that.
Oh, I'm amazed.
We've had many on the show.
We've had some torsos.
We did have a torso. And a naked man.
And a naked man.
And a naked man. And some... I think we had skin at one point.
Delightful. But no skull.
No skull.
Okay.
Until tonight.
Until now. It's very exciting.
So with a skull as your ingredient, your inspiration, ground up and rubbed onto your face, what have you come up with?
Well, there is, yes. So there is a drink called the Skull Cocktail, I think it's called. Okay. But it's a very... It's a tiki drink.
Oh, okay. Fun, not serious.
Yes. Well, no, I think it's a classic tiki drink. It's like been around since like the 30s type thing.
Okay.
But it's got many things that I do not have.
What do you not have at the
Or just
Poisonous
lots of
Cabinet?
random fruit juices and some very specific sort of rums and stuff like that.
Is it umbongo?
Yes, it's umbongo. So I thought, I can't make that one. But I come up with something different, which I think we like. Which is really good. I don't know. We'll find out.
Well,
It's
what are,
interesting.
what are we having?
We are having.
Okay.
We're having a rust and bone.
A rust and bone.
Yes.
But that's not a skull.
Skulls are made of bone. I mean, they are.
But that ruins it if we have bone as the ingredient now.
Then I have something else.
A breakdown.
Yes, a bone and bone at that point.
Have a bone in. A rust and bone.
A rust
okay.
and bone.
Rust and is that a phrase?
I don't know. Is it?
I think it feels like it is.
It does feel like, yes, it does feel like something.
I say something to do with barbers or something. I don't know why I've thought of that. Maybe I've read a book that had a barber who was covered in rust and bones.
Who was very rusty.
Yeah, it was very rusty at his job and killed many people. Sweeney Todd, basically.
Not that I'm familiar with, but it does sound like that. It should be that sort of
Sort of phrase.
thing.
Okay, I like it. Well, rust and bone taken from the skull, specifically.
Yes.
Wonderful. I think it is high time for us to saunter into the Poisonous Cabinet kitchen and shake up a storm, so we'll see you in a minute.
I'll see you in a bit.
And we're back.
Hello.
So, Nick, rust and bone.
The rust and bone.
It is a brown drink. This is a very brown drink. Oh, it's got a cherry in it. But this is a brownest of brown drinks.
It is considerably brown.
And it is over ice in one of your beautiful tumblers. Big chunk of ice. Okay. It's been a while since we've had anything this brown.
This brown. This is very brown.
That's your mixologist.
Yes. It's my
verdict
expert verdict. Oh, it's brown. Oh my god, it's brown.
It's brown.
It's brown. It's already brown, folks.
There does need to be a cocktail bar where their menu is brown. Drinks, because you know you're in a good territory
I
with
think
brown.
that's a good way to put a menu together, I think.
By
brown
colour.
drinks,
By colour.
white drinks, clear drinks, green
Blue
drinks.
great party drinks, and
Party
everything.
drinks. Yeah. Blue drinks,
Peachy,
green
pale.
drinks, brown drinks.
Brown drinks is always the ones you want. Okay, good. I think we should dive in. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Ooh, smells.
Oh, hello. Okay. That is nice. I enjoy that.
It's a good brown drink.
That's cleared my chest right up.
It's going to clear many things out, absolutely.
That is spirit forward. That is spirit forward, and I am here. Did I ever tell you about the time
Yes.
I was on a summer cruise? I feel drunk already. I'm sorry. Jesus. I'm putting that drink over there now for a while. Ooh, that is full of flavours.
It's full of brown.
Full of... Okay, hang on.
Can you taste the brown?
I can taste the brown. So. Oh, that is lovely.
That's really good.
But it's smooth.
We've not had one this hefty for in quite some time, I think.
Not one that has worked this well.
No, it's
Whatever
been a
this
while
is.
since we've had one that's...
Fetch me. Well done, you. I don't know what I was doing there.
Yeah. Fetch me another. Is that what you're going with?
It may well be in the break. So now I have to guess. Okay, so
Yeah.
there's you've put a little cherry in there.
I have.
That's very. Does that mean there's maraschino in there?
No.
Okay, so bourbon.
Yes.
Bourbon. So you've got a
Bourbon.
little bit of sweetness in there.
There's a bourbon.
Is there a red vermouth?
There is not a red vermouth.
An Amaro?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Will I
Yes.
know the
No.
Amaro?
No.
Can I guess?
Crack on.
Amaro number 1. I don't know. What are all the Amaros? Cocchi Americano? That's not an Amaro.
It's
Is
more
that?
of
Well,
a-
that's more. There's
of a
paler,
mouthy
isn't it?
Sort of thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
Stop.
mean, Amaro is a huge. There are many things that are called Amaro. Blah blah blah. There's like Amaro Montenegro, and this
Yes,
is
that
meant
was
to
what I was
be
thinking, Montenegro.
a Amaro Luciano. I don't have any of that. I've used an Amaro Nonino instead.
Yes, you do have the
So
Nonino.
yeah, so there's So there's Amaro, this, and there's bloody hundreds of things. But then also things like Campari and Aperol, Chartreuse,
They are.
also come under the Amaro sort of umbrella as well.
Chartreuse comes under the subcategory evil. Don't drink this. It's an evil one. Okay.
So I've used, an Amaro Nannino, which the interweb said is a close sort of substitute.
And before we go on, every single time you say the name of that, I think of Manny in Black Books going, I have the Pinot Nino wine. That's how it sounds.
That's how it sounds.
Okay, so we've got so we've got the bourbon, you've got the Amaro.
Yep. One more thing.
One more main thing.
One more main thing.
Right. I don't know. Is it? I mean, I guess it's not overly sweet. I'm not getting a lot of floral in there, but I've lied to myself before.
It's in a similar area to what we've had already. So
vegetably?
No.
Herby.
Think Herbie.
Benedictine?
Yes.
Oh! Benedictine is my favourite of the drinks because it never steers me wrong. It always is there in the back of my head, and every drink it's in is a delight. Hey! Ooh, so bourbon, Amaro, Nino.
Nino.
Excuse me. And the Benedictine.
And the Benedictine.
And so some bitters, maybe?
And there's some bitters in there as well, yes.
Yay.
Yep.
Oof. Anything else?
Nope. That's your lot.
Delightful.
That's your lot. So, and it works a damn treat.
3 ingredients. That's all you need, mate. That's all you need. That is quite delightful. And served over ice.
Yes, stirred with ice to chill it down, and then served over a big old chunk of ice.
No, that is a master stroke. That is delightful.
It's really, 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 really good. Yeah, it's a sort of an old-fashioned sort of variant on a bit of an old-fashioned. Yeah, it's just very nice.
And I love the name, Rust and Bone.
Rust and Bone.
Makes it feel very refined. That is a big leather wingback chair.
Was that a film?
Rust and Bone.
Is Rust and Bone a film? I know it from somewhere. I don't know if it's a book or it's a film.
Is Rust and Bone a film about diving that Marion Cotillard is in and she's got no legs?
I'm going to Google it.
I've not seen it.
Rust and Bone. Oh, yeah. Oh, watch Marion Cotillard. Yes.
Marion Cotillard.
A bouncer's relationship with a double amputee.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, you
I have
and
not
the
seen it.
random film knowledge.
I just remember things.
Yeah, random French film.
You never really go wrong with a Marion Cotillard film.
This is true.
Generally.
Even when she's got no legs.
So, with the Rust and Bone firmly in hand, sipping all the way.
Sipping
it's
all the way.
delightful. Are you ready for a story, Nick?
Oh, yes.
Hurrah. So, this week we have a story of Murder Most Foul.
Okay.
I have a little slice of history and a dash of science. Soaked in bullshit.
Nice.
As is our want.
As is most of our episodes.
It is a case that the Poisonous Cabinet fans of old will love. And it is a case where the courts argued whether or not to convict a killer based on just how bad they looked.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
Now, this story is funny. It is not great in parts. It's generally amusing and it's a great story. I'm just going to caveat that there are points in this where you have to go, ooh, okay.
It's not ideal. Yes.
This was not under. But come with us on the ride and pepper us with questions if you have them afterwards. I'm going to give you a little introduction first into the perception, the public perception of the killer at hand. In person, she is remarkably ugly. The eyes encroach the space proper to the brain. Her head in shape rather than in size is unfavourable to the usual presumption of sound mind and full capacity.
Okay. Right.
So this is a really interesting case where the resources at first glance are few and far between, but you delve a little deeper and then you find all the stuff that was written at the time and you go,
Nice.
because of a link to someone incredibly famous.
Ooh.
Not someone that you would probably name off the top of your head, but they were very famous.
Okay.
Yes. So our main story takes place in Ohio, Cincinnati, where we are going to meet Nancy Farrar. So Nancy was born in 1832 and she was born in Fannington in Lancashire, England.
Nice.
Fannington.
Fannington.
I thought you might like that name. Now, the family had become Mormons. Certainly the mother had. And this was a weird thing because I was like, Mormons in England?
You know, I'm always surprised when I hear about Mormons in England at this sort of time. Going,
Yes.
why are you here? Aren't you American? But no, they were here.
This did make me go, I'm going to question this because some people go, they were Mormons, and there's no basis in fact. But I looked it up, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints had begun missions to England in 1837. And they did a lot of their work in Lancashire, up north, and their first branch was established in Lancashire that year. So they probably would have been some of the first people who would have been converted
Yes.
and would have gotten on like, oh yeah, the Mormon train.
Hello.
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 My name is Zelda Price. The Book of Mormon. Yes. We'll be doing songs from that show
Excellent.
at the end of the episode. Hang around for that. That's the After Dark special. But her father was a shoemaker, and he emigrated to America when she was 10. He went over there with her brother, and then about 2 years later, she and her mother went to America. They settled in
Pave
Cincinnati.
the way, get some money together.
Now, the mother was definitely the Mormon. Her father converted, I think, when he was in America. Let's just say this. Not much is known about her childhood, but there was maybe a history of mental illness in the family. What they would term as mental illness. Well, on one hand, her mother believed she was a prophetess.
I mean, that's a bold claim.
Yes, in one report, savior and mother of all things.
Did she have a hen?
She didn't have a hen.
Well,
She didn't
how can you trust any prophetess without a hen?
She could tell the future herself. She was a prophetess. She was a mother of all things. Don't we all think that at some point?
Yeah, it's a bold title to claim.
So she was kind of living life well. Her father, not so great. Obviously suffering from severe depression, had attempted his own life twice. It was reported, tried to throw himself in the Ohio River, had another attempt. He would later die of drunkenness in a hospital in Cincinnati.
Well, it's not easy with a wife as a prophetess.
Exactly, yeah. How can you live up to that?
Exactly. It's a lot to contend with, I feel.
Yeah, and also he was not very happy. Now, Nancy had learned to read at school, but not how to write.
Okay.
They'd missed that lesson out.
Missed that one out.
So she could read, but she couldn't write. But she would later find work as a nurse in her late teens, early 20s. Now, when I say nurse, not nurse in hospital, private nurse to a household.
Right.
So a little bit upgraded than a maid.
Yes.
Going to tend to the family.
Mopping the brow.
Mopping the brow, still going to do some housekeeping, but generally, yeah, going to be a nurse, going to look after people. And apparently, she had good references. She, she was well in demand. She was described as awkward, but she was very caring and attentive. She didn't like to talk much. She didn't want to talk much. She didn't want to run after company. That was a phrase there. Okay. But she did what she was told. She took care of her patients, and everyone thought her very kind and very thoughtful.
I'm not surprised she's got good references.
Yeah.
Sounds like an ideal nurse.
She shuts the fuck up and she gets on with things.
Exactly. Doesn't run around chasing chaps.
Well, she might. Well, I mean, I don't think she did, but she might have very successfully, secretly.
Well, you said she didn't go around chasing company.
Yes, she didn't run after company.
Yeah,
well, she didn't want company.
That's an allusion to gentleman folk.
I think it was generally.
Well, just people
I
in
think
general.
it was generally she did not want to really engage with people.
Fair enough.
Apparently. Though the reports...
No, I know how you feel, love. I know how you feel.
Those were the early reports. Later, these would become warped. And do keep those in mind to kind of go like, how much of this has been changed over time? But in 1851, Nancy was employed by Mrs. Mary Ann Green, who was convalescing at home after the birth of her first child. Now, Mrs. Green's husband was going away on a work trip.
Okay.
Needed someone to look after his wife, look after the household, all good. Left his wife in Nancy's capable hands and ensured there was plenty of money in the house for essentials. Gave his wife around about $200,
okay,
which she kept under the pillow.
Considerable.
Tucked up there, that was all
Keep
right.
it under the mattress.
But no sooner had the husband left than Mrs. Green wasn't doing too well.
Oh dear.
In Nancy's company. In fact, a family friend, John Marks, called in to visit Mrs. Green to check on mother and baby and walked away determined that another nurse needed to be employed to help Nancy, as his thoughts on her was she was not sufficiently intelligent to discharge the duties of a nurse.
Okay. Mm.
So he didn't have her fired, but he got someone else in.
Yeah, to supervise.
Now, another nurse, Mrs. Baisley. Now, some people call her Mrs. Basili in different reports. Her name changes in every single report about her. I think she was Italian, and it just shows no one knew how to say her name, so they made it up.
It's made it up.
They made it up. It changes every single time. And one report, a really good report, did reference like that. Like, we don't know what her name is because no one seemed to know what it was. But she came in to help Nancy, and it was said that these two got on quite well. The two nurses were often seen chatting away. They were pretty comfortable in each other's company rather than being rivals. And while Mrs. Green was growing sicker and sicker, there were conversations between the two nurses, apparently overheard innocently by a neighbour who definitely had a glass to the wall.
Yes.
They were talking about something that was under Mrs. Green's bolster.
Oh.
Bolster on the bed. There was something under there. And the other nurse was complimenting Nancy and how well she knew of Mrs. Green's illness and her treatments far better than a doctor ever would. And certainly no doctor was called out to treat Mrs. Green's illness, which grew worse and worse. Within a few weeks, Mrs. Green was dead.
Oh.
Apparently from cholera.
Of course, the cholera.
There had been the cholera doing the rounds. Alarms at the ready, people. I'm
Yes, I think I can tell where we're going with this one, I feel.
not saying it yet. You got to work for it.
Yeah.
When your employer dies, you have to move on to a new one.
Well, you do.
It does no good just like still looking after them when they're dead.
No.
So off Nancy goes and she finds a position with Elisha Forrester and his family. So you have Elisha, you have his wife Cassandra, who was unwell. She was said to be an invalid. So whether that was recently, whether that was for her whole life, but she was unwell, she needed care, and they had 3 children, 3 quite young children. And poor Cassandra, she needs help. Nancy is here to help out.
Absolutely.
She is going to tend to her. She's going to help out with the meals. She's going to help out with the housework. She's going to see to the children. It's all good. She's in the door that day and she gets on with her work.
What a blessing she's arrived.
Absolutely. Spills a little water while cleaning the kitchen, and Mrs. Forrest notices this and asks Nancy to redo the kitchen. Standards, love, standards.
Well, there's water on the floor, fair enough. Mop up the water.
Yeah, mop up the water. No problem. Nancy does this and makes Mrs. Forrest her lovely, lovely dinner, and Mrs. Forrest is dead within the week.
Okay.
One report had her dead within 6 hours.
6 hours. I mean, that's bold. Walking into a house and then killing someone within 6 hours.
Well, she criticised my work.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I bet she spilled that water.
She's like, just pour it on the ground,
Yeah.
like, clean it up,
Clean
bitch.
up, bitch. It's like coming in and throwing a tea on the floor.
One of Nancy's friends would later say about the cleaning criticism, she had a notion of speaking back about it, but she thought she'd fix her for it. So I didn't know how to take that. My first thought was, I thought about talking to her, but then I just thought I'd kill her.
Yeah.
But then the other side was, I thought about talking to her, but then I thought she, the employer, might fire me if I said something.
Oh, no, I would interpret the first way.
That's exactly, yeah. I spilled something. I didn't get this quite right. Well, you're going to die. On her first night, she does make a lovely dinner for Mrs. Forrest. And Mrs. Forrest is soon heaving, vomiting, just like Mrs. Green did.
Not quite so lovely, then, I feel. Not quite so lovely.
It's not a lovely dinner.
No, apparently not.
Everyone's going,
if everyone's vomiting horribly.
something wrong with this cook. I think, no, it's not the cook.
It's a delightful meal.
It's the weather. As Mrs. Forrest is heaving and vomiting, Nancy tells people about the house about this. Oh, how awful she's so sick. Maybe
Yes.
she's reaching for cholera. When Mrs. Forrest rallies a little in between meals, and this is really in the space of a few days, if not a couple of days, depending on the different reports. I mean, this is not a long, drawn-out plot. This is sudden and aggressive, which you must bear in mind. But when she does rally in between meals, or she seems to be getting better and then relapses in a fit of puking, Nancy's going, oh, yep, it was just like this with Mrs. Green. It was just like
Seen
this.
it all before.
Yes, I imagine her shouting this above the cacophony of puking and shitting herself in a room. Mrs. Forrest dies of her symptoms pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly. Everyone going, okay.
That was unexpected.
Don't fire Nancy immediately. They just sort of sit around and go, because you don't
Well,
want to suspect.
Again, why would you? Why
Terrible,
would you
terrible
suspect?
cholera.
A woman has been unwell for many, many years.
Yes.
Needing a nurse, so also such a thing is going to happen at some point.
Nancy apparently at this point figures, meh, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Oh, yeah.
And Mrs. Forrest's son, John Edward, soon falls ill. He's 8 years old,
Something floating around the house.
and he's dead within a day
Oh, God.
of displaying symptoms. And soon the rest of the family are not doing too well. Apparently, during the sea of sickness in the Forrest house, Nancy had lamented to a friend about the people who died around her. And this was the exchange she apparently had with her friend. Nancy would say, 5 have died where I lived. First, there were Mrs. Green and her baby. Apparently, the baby died as well. This is a footnote somewhere else going, and then Mrs. Usherwood's baby, don't know who that is. Again, tried to find her. She's like, we don't know.
No.
But she died a day or two after I left. And she said of the Forrest household, Jimmy will go next. And Billy. And the old man. And I suspect they'll all go of one complaint.
Poison.
As she's talking to her friend, she apparently sort of jokes how lucky I am with sick folks. They all die. Allegedly, the friend says, and this was on a court report, so the friend would probably temper it, but the friend said, maybe you killed them. And Nancy said, maybe I did.
Oh, God. Oh, Nancy. Come on, dear. Come on, Nancy.
So that is from a court report from a friend testifying in court. And I'm like, that's great, though.
Yeah.
That's great that you didn't try to hide that at all.
just leaning into it, just going, yes, I have killed many people.
And whoever's giving the witness, they're going, well, I'll just beef this up. It's absolutely fine. Nancy's prediction looked to be coming true as the youngest child, Jimmy, apparently around about 2 years old, who had been perfectly healthy, had been seen running around playing with his friends, died following a terribly painful, sudden illness.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrific for a young child, for anyone. Not only that, but the father, Elisha, is now displaying similar symptoms, so is the remaining child, Billy. And it's about this point that Elisha's going, something's not right here, as they're crawling over the corpses of their family. Something may just be amiss.
Yeah.
But again, I will point out that this has been a very short, rapid space of time where they may all be going, oh my God, has cholera hit the house?
Has cholera hit the house? Absolutely, yeah.
Which is how sudden it could be.
Yeah.
Elisha's got an inkling here. He orders his son's corpse have a post-mortem, his youngest son,
Okay.
his tiny
Well, good for
child.
him.
And it's really, really a big step to do that. And a Dr. Dandridge comes to the house and he opens up the child's corpse and he finds... Arsenic! Arsenic alarm! Arsenic alarm! Arsenic alarm! We're getting on a roll of arsenic
There's
alarms.
been a few of them recently.
They have, yes. The doctor goes, well, it's just full of arsenic.
The child is mainly made
It's
of
just-
arsenic now.
There's no child left. It's just a box.
A child-shaped box of arsenic.
Oh, it's an image. But the doctor questions the father immediately, like, is there a chance that this child, he's a young child, could he have taken arsenic? Do you have arsenic, rat poison in the house? Could he have consumed it? No, there is no chance. There is no chance this could have happened. The doctor and Elisha, the master of the house, are in conversation about arsenic. When they are having these conversations, Nancy overhears and apparently becomes quite excited and anxious.
What a surprise.
And then the doctor says that whenever he and Elisha try to talk about the circumstances of the matter, she would walk up very close to them and listen. Just there. Right there. Nose to nose. Hello.
Hello.
Tea. Also, what do you don't stop on my account. Husband is starting to think I may be wrong here, but maybe the nurse's arrival in our household has not been a good thing. They find an envelope on the floor outside of her bedroom door to Dr. Salter's drugstore that shows that he had been selling flipping great wadges of arsenic to her
Barrels of arsenic.
for weeks now. Weeks. What's it for? Stuff.
Stuff. Private things.
Nancy-
Ladies' things. No one's going to ask.
Jeez.
No one's going to ask
yeah,
you.
no one's
No
gonna
one's going to follow up on that, are they?
It's the 1800s. Ladies' things, I don't know.
I don't. Yeah. No. Fine.
Ah, yes. Burn the ghosts away
Yes,
down
you
there.
crack on.
Burn away the
Have
urges.
more.
Tempt your womb back into place, love.
Is one barrel enough?
Nancy is arrested
Yes.
on the 8th of December 1851 for murder. She will be arraigned for poisoning 4 people in total, so 3 members of the Forrest household and Mrs. Green, but officially would only be charged with the murder of the youngest Forrest child, the 2-year-old. Now you may be thinking, okay, fine, this woman has poisoned people. She's acting very strangely. And she's clearly unwell.
Okay.
It is pretty cut and dry that she has done this.
Yeah, she's responsible for
She
this.
is responsible.
Yeah.
But one of the most curious things about the case is how Nancy's appearance played a part in proceedings. We hark back to that description that I
Yes,
gave.
interesting head.
Yes, interesting head, very strange. Her head shape being unfavourable. Her eyes being in the wrong place. She is variously described as having a sinister, revolting look. One report after the trial wrote, the appearance of the woman excited a general interest, more especially as it was known that her lawyers intended to rest their case mainly on the ground that she was insane.
Okay.
She was thick-set, stout-built woman of Irish origin,
Okay.
but the most remarkable point was the distance between her eyebrows. Across the bridge of her nose, it being about 4 times as great as in any ordinary person.
Right.
It is true, it gave her a very singular look, and many considered it a positive proof that she was demented.
Okay.
In addition, a distinguished physician, apparently, from Philadelphia, studied her head, whether it was in person or from afar, it is never confirmed, but gave his verdict on the obvious deficiencies in her brain, though he couldn't be sure that it indicated a propensity to destroy. What do we have here, Nick?
I mean, phrenology is a classically foolproof
Do we have a little case of phrenology?
way of judging these things.
I think that's time for a drink.
I think it is.
Nick, we have our drinks.
We do.
And would you like to hear a little bit about phrenology?
Absolutely. Tell me how mad I am from my skull.
I will in a moment.
I'm glad.
I will.
Okay.
I will try and manipulate the skull. So this trial is very interesting because so much was made about Nancy's appearance, and apparently judgment from afar and possibly up close as well of all of the reports that I've read, that people apparently were examining her skull, whether it was absolutely determined they were, fingering her skull, literally, has not been confirmed. But the conclusions are still the same because they lean into the ideas behind phrenology. Any excuse to wheedle in some talk of phrenology. There's been plenty of cases that it's involved. If you want more on this, maybe a bonus episode I can do on Patreon. But
So we've not covered this before, have we?
No, we've not covered. No, we've not. Nick, what do you know of phrenology?
Well, I know it's like, yes, the study of the lumps and bumps and dimensions of the brain, or of the skull. The sort of...
Oh, you made a very interesting distinction there.
Yes.
Okay.
Because obviously, yes, the skull that are meant to sort of indicate certain traits and things like that, and various areas are divided up into particular, traits and features and things like that, and if you have a particularly pronounced bit at the front, then that means something, or a dent somewhere, then that means something else, and all this sort of stuff.
Yes, no, it's it's actually a very good assessment of it. It's very nice. So, phrenology, as you said, the difference between brain and skull. So there is a distinction between craniology, which is used to decipher literally physical attributes from the skull. Anthropologists will use that to, if they find a skeleton, they'll go, this is the sex they were born with. This is the sex they were born with and their origin.
Physical characteristics. So
Physical characteristics.
You can determine, yes, sex and such like that, but you can't determine they were a happy person.
Exactly that. That is what phrenology does. It's the study of the shape of the skull, but the skull has been shaped by the muscles in the brain. The brain is a muscle, and in infancy, when you're younger, it will shape the cranium. It will shape the skull.
Yeah, the skull forms round your brain. Yes.
Because of the things that you're born with. And it's all about the bumps and contours indicating personality traits and mental abilities. It's all about you as a person, the mental, the psychological side of things. So it's the belief that the brain covered a crisscross of 27 different sections, and each part represents a different mental faculty. Now, a few people may be going, well, don't different parts of the brain have different functions? Yes, they do. But not any way or shape and form
but
linked
different
to phrenology.
Yeah, but I think different.
It's
like memory and emotion and physical action and stuff like that in the brain. But not like, oh no, he's a killer. He likes cheese.
It's literally, it's what it is that some people may be thinking left or right brain. That's also sort of been debunked as well. That it's not as cut and dried as like, oh, you're left brain dominant. Not a thing.
Not anymore.
You've got the frontal lobes, you've got all the synapses that work and everything, and you've got sections of the brain that do different things, but you don't have 27 different bits of it. He struck lucky by going, the brain does different things in different areas, because later on they go, yes, they do, but this is a ballpark 70 miles away from the ballpark you're talking about. And it is totally bollocks. It is complete
bollocks.
and utter horrible bollocks. This pseudoscience, as it's called now, it reached a fever pitch in the 1800s in the UK and America predominantly, and then it went away very quickly. Really, the lifespan of phrenology, even though we know about it, is very, very brief. And it is also the science of racism, which I will come back to. Prejudice, xenophobia, misogyny, you name it, phrenology backed it up.
Well, that's what lasted well into the 20th century and such things.
Well, absolutely. As Mr. Burns says in The Simpsons, you have the sloping brow and cranial bumpage of the career criminal. It's that.
Yes.
It's that you look at someone and go, yep, definitely a
Dodgy.
criminal. So the origins of why your appearance means you're a wrong 'un go way back to the Greeks, and I can't go into every single thing there. When you delve into it, it's just a minefield of why.
Is it Pliny by any chance?
You sort of move on for the Egyptians. The Egyptians were like, the heart is the point of everything. And then the Greeks, well, no. Galen. So the brain controls the body. He also said it's made of sperm. You have a sperm brain, according to him.
Okay.
Aristotle said terrible, terrible things, as well as a lot of very good things also. Like, some people are predisposed to just be subservient. It's like, oh, God. But in its heyday, in the early 1800s, Austrian physician Franz Gall began teaching and spouting his beliefs in a very, very succinct way about how you can determine a person's mental characteristics through the shape of their brain through the skull. So that's why you have to feel it, because the brain has shaped it. The skull solidifies over the bumpy brain in infancy because it's so bumpy. And then you can basically find out if your kid's good at maths. He did this. He did this in experiments at different times. It would lead to various snake oil salesmen later on going, I'll tell you if your kid is going to be good at anything. But he would just feel someone's brain and go, yes, your child will be an amazing mathematician or an amazing poet. And their parents later were like, they weren't. No.
I could barely read.
No scientific research to back it up. No one has done a controlled test afterwards that I could see. Well, obviously, that's why it fell out of favour. Gall's lectures did not go down well in his native Austria. They were like, get out. He went to France. Didn't go down well with Napoleon because he assessed Napoleon's head.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not going to go well, is it?
Apparently.
Oh, Napoleon, you're a wrong 'un.
He said he wasn't powerful enough.
He was pretty powerful.
He discredited Napoleon's head. How the man left with his testicles.
I know, yes.
I don't know. But you know where it went down really well?
Probably London.
England.
Yeah.
The Victorians had done very well embracing the work of international scientists, discovering the workings of the human body, detecting complex poisons in your system, but society was absolutely in favour of a new science that could say the shape of your head will prove how good at keeping secrets you are.
One good thing about the Brits is...
Oh, you're leaning back in your seat now, aren't you?
We are excellent at judging people. Horrendously. With no basis in fact whatsoever.
Look like a wrong one.
Yeah, you look like a wrong one. No. Do you deserve that country? No. Do you need that other oil? No.
Before I get into that, let's just suffice it to say, Phrenology absolutely gobbled up by elitist rich white men. Yep, intellectuals of the world thrilled. This is a new piece of science that proves we're better than everybody else, particularly in Britain and in America as well. For a moment, though, I'll give you some of the things that Phrenology could detect. Cautiousness.
Okay.
Particularly cautious. Combativeness.
Okay.
So are you a fighter and everything? Yep. This is actually how it was written. Concentrativeness.
Concentrativeness.
I lost track of that word.
I like
concentratedness.
I like concentratedness.
I am so good at concentrativeness.
Concentratedness.
Adhesiveness.
How sticky you are. Are you sure?
It's absolutely true. Adhesiveness.
How sticky one is.
Do you stick to a task? I don't know.
Right. I don't know. I'm quite sweaty. I'm quite sticky at the moment. This is quite hot in here.
Sticky. Adhesiveness is on there. Okay. I didn't delve too far. No, I was happy with adhesiveness.
I wasn't expecting that one.
Some nice love of life.
Okay.
That's sweet. Yeah. Self-esteem. Let's not go there. Firmness. Imitation.
Okay.
Your ability to imitate. Or imitating your self-esteem.
Interesting.
Wit or mirthfulness.
Okay.
And ability with colour, numbers, language, and your individuality. I think adhesiveness is the most important one.
Adhesiveness is the one you want, really, isn't it?
I will stick to you like glue, sir.
Yes. This is how sticky I am.
This is a funny piece of hokum that we can all have fun with today, but another means to an end for racism. Phrenology was readily embraced as a means to justify racial, cultural, and gender prejudices. So England loved that shit.
Yep.
Absolutely loved it because it makes colonising and killing people a lot easier.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Your brain is weird.
Yes. These Indian people don't seem to know how to run the country.
They're not sticky enough.
They're not sticky enough.
Absolutely
not. They don't know how to manage the natural resources that they've managed for thousands and thousands of years.
Exactly.
They need us. Clearly, their heads are not right.
Yeah.
The Irish simple folk don't know how to govern themselves. We need to come in here. USA jumps all over that shit. Oh, absolutely. Because if you've been committing cultural and actual genocide for a very long time, there's a new bit of science that's going to justify it. Someone comes over and goes, you know, we've been saying they don't have souls? No, it's their heads now. The heads say that they're idiots. Just go with that. Go with that. The level of idiocy behind it and the level of detail I could go into with phrenology, it is marvellous. But you do genuinely have phrenologists claiming people of different races are inferior. Women are inferior because of the shape of their skulls. If you have a larger base of your skull, you are mentally inferior, and a lot of women had that. Anti-abolitionists absolutely claiming, as the ancient Greeks did, some people are predisposed to be slaves. Then you also have a lot of snake oil salesmen who were going round the countries going, let me test your children's head.
Let me test your brain.
Let me feel your brain, and I'll tell you your future. And as soon as people start fortune-telling with it, and also the lower classes get hold of it, the upper classes don't want any part of it. Like, oh, no, it's not cool anymore. We don't like it. So there we go. So that's my little sideway into phrenology.
Did you test your own brain?
I can test yours if you want.
Okay.
Okay.
Which bit's particularly lumpy?
Ooh, interesting.
Ooh.
Because there's 27 bits.
Yeah.
Your head's weirdly smooth. Oh, I don't like your head.
Okay. Thanks.
I was looking at little bits from the sketch, but your head's like weirdly normal. There's nothing prominent to say I'm a serial killer.
Oh no! What a shame.
I was hoping. I've never touched your head before. If you want after this, you can get up the map. I do encourage you, while I'm about to tell you the story, Google phrenology. Look at the map. Look at the map. Because we'll test your head in a minute. But back to Nancy.
Yes, back to Nancy.
Nancy had her
Oh
trial.
no, dodgy head.
It appears that Nancy will be tried and judged for her appearance, as well as her actions. Let's not forget the actions, but the appearance side of things seems to have dominated the press and dominated the courts as well. Researchers have since surmised Nancy may have had a facial abnormality. There have been various ideas or thoughts about what she may, if it was an actual condition that she had, whether she just looked a bit different or whether she actually had an abnormality that was not recorded and not understood. We don't know, but that sends people into a frenzy because she doesn't look right, and the shape of her skull is an indication of her inability to be a normal person and her ability and her desire to poison people. Her actions speak of someone completely unwell, but her skull shape is something that people cannot get on board with. One court report reads, testimony shows that thus marked out from the common characteristics of our fellow human beings by her personal appearance, and thus apparently deficient in capacity, the facts of Nancy's history agree with the conclusions so given by medical men, which is bollocks. In the face of such evidence, who would defend Nancy? Who could possibly save this woman?
Who could save Nancy
from the gallows? Does she deserve to be saved? Is a different thing. But does she deserve to get a fair trial?
That she certainly does.
Well, it would be none other than the President of the United States.
Oh, okay. Wasn't expecting that one.
Eventual President of the United States.
Not at the time, President of the United States.
No. Do you know who the future president might have been
Not a
at that
clue.
time?
Not
How was
a
your
clue.
presidential knowledge?
Absolutely terrible.
I wouldn't know either.
President Garfield.
Oh, it's not far off Garfield.
Oh, then I have no idea.
It's Rutherford B. Hayes.
Oh, very good.
Yes, 19th President of the USA from 1877.
I'm looking at phrenology.
Yes.
And Area 2,
Right.
I can't even say this word.
Because you can't read it? Or
Progenitiveness? Philoprogenitiveness. No, there's only one T. It's a very complicated word.
Philoprotectiveness.
Yes, let's go with that.
Okay.
What the hell does that mean?
Why did you pick that? This is not fun.
Ammatitiveness.
Just keep it on hold. There's some on Wikipedia.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Wikipedia, and it's got a whole map of all the different areas.
With the little figures on it, isn't it? Yeah, and they don't make sense.
And it's like, ammatitiveness is number one. And I have no idea what is ammatitiveness?
We'll look at it together in a moment after the story.
I'll shush now.
After the story, we'll test each other's brains. Before his political career, he was a criminal defence lawyer, and he was given the Farah case. in this case would be the most important of his criminal career. When he saw it laid out, he knew he was onto something. He said, the poor girl is homely, very probably from this misfortune has grown her malignity. I shall repeat some of my favourite notions as to the effect of the original constitution, early training and associations in forming character. Show how it diminishes responsibility. Study medical jurisprudences as to the poisons, and also read some good speeches or poetry to elevate my style, language and thoughts, etc., etc. Here is the tide, and I mean to take it at the flood. If I can. So maybe.
Okay.
I don't know who he said this to, but
I mean,
it
sounds
was
very
written
dramatic.
down.
Yeah, it sounds
he
very
may have been
good.
saying it to his mirror, and his assistant was there going, yes, very good, very good, very good. So he looked through her cases and her family history, and he determined that her behaviour pointed to a woman who had no moral comprehension of what she was about. And I think this bears discussion, probably, in a bit. Like, did Nancy know what she was doing? This was crazy behaviour. She did what she did. He wanted to go for insanity. The defence were calling for insanity. Rest assured, the entire trial was a shit show in terms of how accurately anyone could determine Nancy's guilt or sanity. There had been press reports all over the place, absolutely lambasting her because she looked ugly.
Nice.
Aside from that, the court set the jury the task of determining that Nancy was insane beyond a reasonable doubt, which the defence later went, no, this is weird.
Probably
No.
not.
The jury had also been reading all the press reports about the accused. 2 jury members were drunk during the proceedings. Jury members were also passing notes to people outside of the window.
Brilliant.
To get updates on what was happening in the press, and their friends were passing them notes going,
Bring me
do
snacks."
you know, yeah, snacks. They were also going, do you know how you're going to vote yet? Like, what's your verdict going to be? And they're going, not sure yet. Can I have a sandwich? Apparently there was one note, and I still don't understand this sentence, so maybe you can help me with it. At one point, the prosecuting attorney was desired by one of the jurors to cause a change of clothing to be sent to one of the jurors. It appears, however, he made no reply.
Okay.
One of the jurors wanted the prosecuting attorney to send clothes to another member of the jury.
Right. His hat offends me. Get him a new hat. Or perhaps this man is sitting here naked. Give him some clothes.
Give him clothes. I don't like this.
He keeps on taking off his pants. Please give him some trousers.
His head doesn't look like someone who is normally of that persuasion. So there you go. The trouble was everyone had already made their mind up about Nancy.
Yeah.
Rightly or wrongly, she had certainly poisoned people, but Farah was convicted at the trial of murder in the first degree, and she was set to be hanged.
Yeek.
But Hayes fought tooth and nail against the decision.
Mm.
So convinced was he that Nancy was simply not of sound mind, and this did not justify the death sentence. He appealed to the district and later Supreme Court to obtain a writ of error in this case. Finally, it was granted. In a roundabout way, he was able to present his case to the justices to argue that Nancy was insane, and the case was overturned, and Nancy was acquitted.
Oh.
She was sent to a lunatic asylum for the rest of her life.
That's less fun.
Yeah, but she wasn't hanged.
Well, yeah. I don't want to be hanged, to be honest.
Well, wait.
Okay.
The then official court reporter of the Supreme Court of Ohio heard Hayes' argument and said it was a truly admirable effort, and the peroration was indescribably pathetic.
Oh, the what now was?
Peroration, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's the closing statement.
Ah, right.
And it's meant to be very evocative.
Yes,
it's meant to be very,
absolutely. It's meant to be
very
very
dramatic.
dramatic.
I think peroration actually is the word of a closing statement that is dramatic.
Oh.
Incredibly pathetic. But on this occasion, as all others, Mr. Hayes was singularly modest.
Okay.
So he delivered it well. He got this landmark ruling, and he would define it as one of the most important cases of his life. In the asylum, Nancy was apparently a model inmate. A reporter who was following her case for the Western Lancet reported how kind and thoughtful and intelligent she was in her duties, and questioned the insanity plea. The asylum she was sent to, the first one, was called the Lick Run Asylum.
Delightful.
And then she went to a place called Longview. The end to her tale is taken from a piece from Ohio History Journal on Rutherford Hayes, and it's written by Watt Marchman. Later, Judge Carter, who had presided over the trial, recalled having seen Nancy in the neighbourhood of Lick Run Asylum, and he stopped to talk with her. "Hello, Judge. How are you? I'm glad to see you. Well, you didn't hang me after all." He could not help smiling at the salutation and the nonchalant manner of Nancy. "Oh no, Nancy, I should hate terribly to be the means of hanging a woman, no matter how much she deserved it."
Nice.
"But what are you doing here?" "Well, I'm one of the keepers of the asylum. I takes out the patients and airs them. See, yonder, my pets." And she pointed to a group of poor imbeciles in the woods adjoining, some of whom were singing songs, some culling flowers, some lying down on the green grass, and others suspiciously walking about.
Suspiciously walking about.
"Yes," said Nancy, "these are my pets, and I take care of them." One day, Nancy went out and her memory failed her. That is, she forgot to return. And to this day, no one knows where she went.
Oh.
Also, she died at the asylum.
Right. No one knows where she went, but apart from lots of people did.
Apart from the fact that she died there. I just thought that was a nice little end to it as well. Apparently as well, the nurse from Mrs. Green's case, the first case we heard of, the Italian nurse whose name no one could pronounce, she was put on trial for her part in Mrs. Green's death.
Okay.
And Nancy told Hayes, her lawyer, that Mrs. Green's death was all Anne's idea. She insisted it was all... She was the one who brought up poison. It had nothing to do with it. Hayes was like, fine, you can testify in this and absolutely clear your name. In Anne's trial, Nancy took the stand, went completely the other way.
Oh.
Said Anne never knew anything about poison, never knew anything about arsenic. Nope, nothing about that at all. And Hayes is dumbfounded. And Nancy apparently said to him, "Oh, well, one woman is enough to hang for murder, and I didn't mean to hang Mrs. Baisley."
Oh, how intriguing.
So Nancy would stay in the asylum, either wandering off into the sunset.
Oh, yes. Or looking after her pets.
Or looking after her pets, or just dying quietly in the asylum. On the final note on phrenology as well, on which Nancy was judge, there are many good books and many good podcasts to look into the science of phrenology and the science of racism, quite frankly. It's fascinating, it's hard going as you'd expect it to be. It is hard because we're once again confronted with the sheer normality of racism and prejudice through the ages. The bullshit that was spouted, even in times of enlightenment, and readily accepted by people seeking more power and privilege. Nick, you and I are of a certain age, and we probably can still remember people talking about the way people are inclined. You see, certain races are born like that, and their genetic makeup makes them act in a certain way. These horrible, horrible sentiments that still persist today in certain regions. Most of them are being eradicated. But it did strike me doing this research about how many people use science to defend a prejudice. We don't have to look too far than X to see that.
Indeed.
So it's important to always be wary of how easily this is done and how easily people can stick to it. But that is the story of Nancy Furrer and Bumpy Skulls.
Nice. Oh, that's interesting. Very good.
I'm glad you like it.
I like that one.
There's a few other cases about phrenology using
I'm sure
cases.
there are.
The detail is few and far between. There may be some that I have missed, so let me know. Maybe worth a Patreon episode to delve into it, because the history of it and all the background is great. It's not fun, but it's you can make it fun because it's ludicrous.
Yes,
it's
indeed.
ludicrous.
Yes. I mean, we say this a lot, but why don't you get rowing on?
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
It's just how easily people will accept pseudoscience.
Yeah. Well, people need a reason. People need to find an obvious, easy reason to explain stuff. It can't be. You can point to, oh, it's that. That's there's a bump there. That means this. That explains what it is. People want easy explanations that just generally don't exist.
Yeah, and that was science.
Yeah,
it was science for a time. And then it was 40 years. Yeah. 40 years.
It was a blip. But it's had lasting impact.
Officially 40 years, it went on for a long time. There were people going, well, I think the skull shape, you see people are sort of born in that kind of way. They can very much pick and choose between genetics when they want to. But it's to say people have lumped it in with astrology, people have lumped it in with fortune telling, because at some point someone said scientifically...
all this stuff was science, absolutely.
Yeah, it was all science. It was all based on, astronomy is based on the stars, it's based on the universe. You can't argue with that. And it's like, well... Have you found any more from the Phrenology map?
Well, there are obviously many.
Have you got the map up?
I've got a bit of the map. This sort of.
Where's that?
So I've got this one, this map here.
Okay, right.
Oh, and is it bumps one is looking for?
Bumps or ridges?
Bumps or ridges?
You're sweaty.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
No, you've got a very smooth head. It's like an egg.
My head is just entirely normal. It is very disappointing. I mean,
Oh, have you found something?
I don't know.
Oh, what's that one?
Is there a thing, or is that just a big lump of hair?
No, my hair's quite thin. No, find the lumpy. Okay, what was the lumpy?
Oh,
bit you
there's
found?
something
Oh,
there.
okay.
What's
All right, what's that?
there's a thing there.
Okay, where's that?
So that's on your back left.
So is that what, 17, 18?
I would say a 16. So is it actually over here?
Or is it a 12?
Is it that number? So what's
This is the longest Nick has ever touched me.
I know it's obsessing. So what's a number
you've
12?
got 16 or a 12?
Oh, 12 is cautiousness.
Okay.
So does that mean you are cautious or you're not cautious?
Well, I guess that muscle is flexing.
So
I'm pretty cautious.
So yeah.
I am pretty cautious.
Or pretty cautious. Or 16 is conscientiousness.
I'm quite
You are
conscientious.
quite conscientious.
I am.
But surely this is meant to say an excess or
An
lack
excess.
of.
Yeah, but there would be
such
a
a
dip.
thing.
Like the,
Oh,
the,
so a dip is for a lack of that trait, and a bump is for an exuberance of that trait.
The idea that is not right is that your brain is a muscle, and
Yes.
the different 27 chambers are flexing in a way. So if there is more of a pronounced area, it's because that part of the brain is more active. It's
more
flexed
active.
more, and the skull has adapted
Okay, so
around
I
it.
would say that was a bump
Yay.
in your cautiousness and or conscientiousness sections.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm cautious. I don't trust people.
Don't
I mean,
jump
this
in.
could get into therapy very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you
So-
feel your own head for a bit. Right, can you find a lump?
Well, I don't know. I think at the back of my head.
Oh,
there,
okay. Nice.
But I don't know if that's just everyone has that bone.
Yeah, but there is
Feel-
like
feel
a
my,
ridge.
Feel my head again.
Okay, hang on a second. Alright, hang on a second.
Sort of there.
Oh no, that's a lump. That's a lump.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
not.
right,
That's
what's
a
that?
thing.
What's that? Please don't let it be cancer. But I mean,
Oh, I think that's a number. That's a number.
no, that is more of a lump than I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going with that's a number 2.
Number
Oh,
What does it say?
it's the philoprogenitor.
The one you couldn't pronounce. Oh, hang on, let me look. Can you find it?
Right. Okay. There must be. I'm going to Google this.
Because I've only got I've got inhabitiveness, actually, from the oldie timey one.
Oh, that's not what I was
that's-
expecting. I found.
Well, no, that's from the side, but
I've,
I think
I've,
on that
I've
area.
Googled it.
Okay, what have you got?
It is
What is it?
tending to produce offspring,
Ew.
or relation to characterization of love of offspring. So I suppose philo, love, progenitive, sort of procreation.
Love. Oh.
Yeah, so it's the love of reproducing.
Love of it. I mean,
Okay.
love of reproducing is different from love of offspring.
Well, the definition is offspring,
Well, yeah, but
not
it's,
just love of shagging.
Oh, okay. What else is? You best desperately trying to find another explanation for that.
No, I'm just thinking because there's another one.
There's
which
another one.
is amativeness, which is sexual desire. But that's somewhere completely different.
Right.
So that's not the
You're
same.
desperately trying to
so
find that.
that's not the same as the philoprogenitive.
Philoprogenitive.
Oh, that's what. Oh, apparently sexual desire is on the side.
Right in the dick. Sorry, I've just got loads of old timey ones that have just got pictures of people fighting each other. I've got one that's combativeness, and it's a guy punching someone while a crow watches.
Go and find your phrenology chart. Have a look. See what's going on.
Well,
Let us know what your brain says.
Yes, we've delved into phrenology.
Yeah.
We've touched each other's heads and our own heads. We encourage you to explore what the bumps mean, and also know that it means nothing. But there you go. It's a story of phrenology and well, what do you think of Nancy, though? What do you think of her, genuinely? Because this was a case of...
I mean, this is a woman actually, yeah, I mean, going back to actually, this is a woman who poisoned many, many people.
Yeah.
And yeah, then who was let off, well, not let off, but then was confined to an asylum. And also, not entirely keen on, look at my pets, all these sort of
It may have been hyperbole, but it was a story. Yeah,
other sort of inmates in the asylum that she was rounding up or whatever.
If we took her appearance out of this story and
Well, she's
all this
murdered
stuff,
people.
she murdered people.
Yeah, exactly.
We could cover this story as her being an absolute fucker of a poisoner and mentally unstable, doubt about that.
Maybe so, but yeah,
No,
she
not
killed
right.
a number of people.
Killing people, but she was thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's just so much was made of her appearance that it was the idea that, oh, well, this is an indication of her insanity. Aside from that as well, Hayes was right to go, she is not of sound mind.
No.
She is crazy. Should you hang a crazy person? Should you, the death penalty is a whole other thing, but, the case for insanity.
I suppose there's no obvious motive that she didn't get financial gain out of it or anything like that. Or...
Well, Mrs. Green, then that's the thing. Like, did she steal the money from Mrs. Green? With the others, did she just have a compulsion to kill? Maybe she was getting financial gain out of it, and Hayes used it as I want a landmark case to prove that she was insane. But unfortunately, the bias against her was that she clearly didn't look right.
Yeah.
Whether she did have an abnormality or whether she just didn't look like a normal lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Odd.
Well, what do you think, people? What do you think of the story of Nancy Farrow? What do you think of her methods? What do you think of her conviction? Do you think she should have been tried as a straight-up murderer? Do you think she was insane? What do you think of the court case around it? And what do you think of all of this stuff that was made of the fact that she didn't look right, so we can now go, that's an indication that she's insane or a murderer? There's layers upon layers to this story that we have to pick apart. What are your favourite bits? And also, what have you discovered about yourself?
Yeah, what is your skull telling you?
Yeah, have a good feel around.
Yeah, have a rummage. And well, I'm sure we'll manage to put out that little chart on the social or with the episode or something like that. So you can, have a mosey around your skull and see exactly.
I mean, we encourage you with your friends or your partners, whoever you're listening to this episode with, have a go on each other's skulls. Have a row about it later, because then they'll say, oh, no, this is an indication of this, and then you'll have a fight over wine, but then you'll make up.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think. Jump on the comments of this episode. Share your thoughts, your feelings, your theories. But most importantly, while you do, you must mix up a rust and bone.
That was a damn tasty treat.
Delicious.
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit drunk.
I've enjoyed that thoroughly.
Yeah, very nice indeed. Yeah, so the recipe will be out this evening, so we shall publish that and give it a go, and it's very lovely.
Yep, share pictures if you are enjoying this on social media, wherever you are active on social media, or share pictures of any cocktails you are enjoying. We will do the same whenever we have a cocktail on Instagram predominantly. Send us more suggestions of cocktails that we can be enjoying and also stories that we can cover in the future. If you haven't already, please do join us on patreon.com to get more from the Poisonous Cabinet every single week. And also find us on TikTok.
Yes, do that.
Thanks for listening, guys. We have been the people inside the Poisonous Cabinet. We will see you next week. And remember, your loved ones are trying to kill you.